back to the foxhole. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever your jam may be. AfterShoX 022, Season 1, Episode 22. Your paper host, Kid Harlan here, coming from Eagle's Nest Studio B, Christmas Day. Doing a live stream this week. Just haven't had a chance to get the regular episode out, and with it being the holidays, nobody wanting to do interviews or anything this week. So I figure I'd do episode 22 while I'm watching this Commanders game. So let me start off with this one. I want you to go on Netflix. Cowboys and Commanders. And we're like 4 or 5 minutes behind on my smart TV. I've got like a TCL, using Roku. And I'm getting text of stuff that's happening, and my stream's like 2 or 3 minutes behind. And the folks who complain about Roku, streaming, all this nonsense, Netflix, Amazon, I'm with you 10,000%. Like this touchdown I'm seeing by Bill, big run. That happened like 7 or 8 minutes ago. I'm just seeing it now on my feed. So the whole Netflix thing, whether it's boxing or football, not the best. Hating it. So that makes it Cowboys 24, Commanders 17. So I was saying to friend of the show, Dave Williams, a little while ago, the Commanders needed to show some fight when they were trailing 21-3, or Josh Harris, in my opinion, would need to send some mofos to the bricks straight from the tarmac. That's how I'm definitely seeing it here. But hey, they're being competitive. But the fact that I'm 4 or 5 minutes behind in the stream is just, yeah, it's been that kind of year in Commanders land. So what do we got here? Let me see. The timer here. We're not going to be on here too long. We're going to get to making some food, watch more football and hoops. And by the way, props to the Knicks. Hard-fought comeback, winning on their home floor for Celebrity Row on Christmas Day. They get a nice stocking stuffer. So good job for the Knicks, keeping that momentum going outside of winning their first Emirates Cup, even if they don't want to hang a banner in the fabled MSG, the Mecca. Well, since we're watching NFL, let's talk some NFL here real quick. The whole thing with DJ Metcalf. I mean, is he forfeiting $500,000 or not? Yeah, he has game checks, and then there's is it $40 million in guarantees? Some kind of incentive clause of him towing the line and not being an asshat. But of course, the Steelers' redemption story, and they should make the playoffs given where Baltimore is right now. Tomlin's going to be there. And it looks like Pickens is a Tomlin kind of guy, so they'll work it out. I don't think the guy's losing any sleep. Especially they make the playoffs, somehow going to win out of it. I don't understand the race baiters and race hustlers, though. The whole Jesse Smollett thing, right, where Mr. Metcalf is claiming this guy who he's had a history with, you called his mom the C word, called him the N word. I've seen video clips. Many other people have seen video clips that go along with it. Doesn't really jibe with the storyline from what we're hearing. So you're going Jesse Smollett, and you've got the race baiters and race hustlers, Ryan Carlark, Jamel Hill. You've got them all fired up, doing what they do best. And it's all bullshit. Let alone giving up $500,000 you could be sharing with the Foxhole, or SJ Gets Down and help our podcast. We'd buy all kinds of cool gear. For what? You can't put your hand on the fans. If you followed the Fox Trading and a Foxhole podcast, I've been speaking about this since day one in terms of the volatile situation that is developing between fans and players and the close connection we have now. I mean, you can slide in someone's DMs for crying out loud. And folks who have the resources, like this particular fellow has, that can get a front row seat where you can be a professional heckler. And as I've also said for many, many years, I've been there. Fans can be obnoxious. They feel that they can spend their money, and it's getting higher and higher as time goes on. They can say whatever the F they want, which is kind of true, but not really. I mean, I think you need to stay away from racial epithets or going after people's families. But people liquor it up in the fact that sports, football in particular, has become sort of the opiate of the masses. I get the rabid enthusiasm that goes beyond the boundaries of decency. Totally get it. However, as a player, you do make all that money, and you need to be a professional and tune it out no matter what they're saying. I mean, if it's a case where you get near them and they hit you first, okay. But otherwise, I mean, your ass is lucky it's only 2 games. It should be 4 if you ask me. Okay. So I'm watching this Cowboys Commanders game. And Commanders trying to stay in there, their porous defense. And I'm watching Josh Johnson. And I know when the Chiefs play the Broncos, you got this guy. Jeez, I don't even know what the hell his name is. He's going to be starting for the Chiefs. J.J. McCarthy's hurt again. The point is 17 going on 18. Do we really want to have 18 games? Now, you've heard me say on the Fox Trading and a Foxhole podcast that, yeah, it'd be cool to have a NFL season that goes from Labor Day to President's Day, and President's Day becomes a national holiday, and we can get all keyed and lay in bed on that Monday, lick at our wounds. Love all that idea. However, if you're going to expand this season beyond what it's now, which appears to be, because it's totally a contest of attrition, really, what you can survive. I mean, my poor Commanders, this is basically a JV squad they've got out there dealing with the injuries. You're making enough money, expand the rosters. Get out of that 1990s mindset. What's the same thing with all of these sports? You're making so much money. You want to play more games. Expand the rosters. It's why I don't want to see Josh Johnson. Okay? And based on some of the quarterback play, as much as I hate to be the one to say this, but I'm going to. Why not give Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick a call? If you're going to have frigging Josh Johnson out there or some of these other stiffs, can't be any worse. Yeah, I get it. You don't want the distraction in your locker room and whatnot. Fair. But just saying, this is where we are. Expand the rosters. Really work hard with the UFL as far as making it a development league, especially focusing on the quarterback position. I mean, how many games are we seeing now where quarterbacks have less than 200 yards passing? And even, I was watching Shador last week. My goodness. How many checkdowns? Somebody breaks a tackle like, ooh, he's cooking. I'm like, he's doing a 2-yard pass and is running back, or the receiver made a play and there's a bunch of yak yards after catch. Okay. You've got Rivers and Rodgers. What a story, huh? Tell you, if I hear one more of these former quarterbacks sit there and just drool over the fact of, look what he's doing, man. It makes me so proud. Even Steve Young coming out and say, hey, at 64, maybe I could come out and sling a few. Aside from the endless spewing, give these guys their due. Now, I just made a comment about Kaepernick and Cam Newton. That's not a knock on Aaron Rodgers or Phillip Rivers. Sure, neither one of them has a deep ball anymore. And more often than not, their diva receivers need to figure out that they have to come back to the damn ball because quarterback's got a noodle of an arm now. But Phillip Rivers, they were competitive against two of the best teams in the NFL. Right? They didn't come away with a W, given some of the issues that Indianapolis has had. More than laudable enough. Aaron Rodgers, hell, they may get a home playoff game. As I said last week, not so much about his quarterback skills, because it is what it is, but he's taken a team that obviously is well balanced, in spite of what all you haters say is well coached, and he's being a field general, not a game manager, but being a field general and doing what's necessary to get Pittsburgh to victory. All you can ask for. And then you have to look at the Jets, who I just saw put Mr. Phil's cookies on injured reserve, and ask what the hell's going on there. It wasn't Aaron. Because if the team was halfway decent, what you're seeing from Aaron now would have been more than enough last year. Obviously, he was hurt in year one. Right? What else do we got here? See, I like this. Doing this episode live. Just kind of trying to keep my eye on the camera, on the football game. Obviously, the Commanders must have done something stupid after sacking Dak. Something the Commanders' defense does very well, commit stupid penalties and not get off the field on third down. Let me take a look at this play here real quick. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to address this one. You know, when I'm wrong, I have no problems admitting that. And in this particular case, well, I'm just going to have to admit, maybe I was wrong again. And I put the curse of the foxhole out there. Ooh, look at that. The camera has AI and just did something, but that's fine. I don't want to fool with it. Like I said, we're enjoying ourselves doing this live stream. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Thanks for bearing with me. Happy holidays. Hope you got the kids and your loved ones something nice and special, and you're actually just chilling. And if you happen to be watching me because you just want to hear me talk a little trash, even better. Hope you've got like good food and fat spread, you know, the prime rib and all that good stuff going. You know, hoops all day, football here in Eugene. Instead of it being all wet and ugly, the sun's out. If I was wise, I'd be out flying my drone, but I got to watch a little football. Okay, we're babbling here. Let's get back on track. So anyways, I was praising Bo Nix, fluffing him up, even though I didn't really want to. And then lo and behold, T. Law, who many of us have written off, and his Jaguars, minus Travis Hunter. Team that nobody wants to believe in and finds reasons to disrespect. Well, Liam Cohen Duval went into Denver and punched them in the frigging mouth. Yeah, punched him in the frigging mouth. One of the more impressive wins, I'll say, all year. I mean, it's a regular season, so let's not get carried away. But we were all of a sudden thinking about punching. We were thinking about punching Denver's tickets to Levi's for the Super Bowl. I wasn't, but many people were, in the same way that they're doing with Drake May. But that's another conversation. This is more of Sean Payton getting hit in the mouth in his team in their own crib by a team that, by all indications, looks pretty dangerous. I know the Chargers and Justin Herbert, they don't want any of that smoke. I can guarantee you that. I'll put my goods in Tavo's. Justin Herbert's just like saying, "Yeah, I've seen enough of this movie." So we're keeping an eye on that. Just do a little adjusting here. Yeah, we've been getting some new technology here. And so we're doing a little adjustment on the fly. Okay, thank you. Bearing with me. So yeah, this camera that I'm using, it's got like AI features. And when I did a finger gesture, which I hadn't done yet, it zoomed out. So I want to zoom back in because it's going to look better as far as the video presentation is concerned. But yeah, very impressed with Jacksonville. Of course, in that state, we ain't talking about Miami. Tua getting benched, Quinn Ewers getting the start, whatever. I want to talk about Todd Bowles, the former Redskin coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who a while ago I thought was pretty safe. Because if you remember, especially if you follow the regular podcast, we were talking about them being a possible number 1 seed. Coming off of last year's playoff disappointment. Right? They were kicking everybody's ass, and we were saying, damn, Baker's smoking the bowl. Now, at 7-8 after 15 games, everybody else is smoking the Baker Bowl. And if Todd Bowles isn't careful with Carolina now leading that division, he may have taken his last few drags off of the Baker Bowl. Just saying, I don't think the Glazers and the Buccaneer faithful are going to be down with this. How could they? With this collapse post-Brady, especially given the weapons and perceived talent. And what many feel is a chicken and dumplings division. Give Dave Canales and the Panthers lots of props. Myself being one of those folks who did not have a lot of good things to say about that team, and Bryce Young as well. They've come a long ways. And hopefully, in my opinion, they get over the hump and make the playoffs. Tampa Bay, based on how they've closed this deal out, they don't belong in the playoffs. Am I lying? Okay, let's flip the script here with the AfterShoX episode 22, the live stream. Gonna talk, I don't know, we'll see, maybe for about 45 minutes to an hour. Just have a little fun here. Maybe get some of the boys back on here for another live stream later. We'll see. But for now, Cowboys 27, Washington 17. The stream's, like I said, 3 or 4 minutes behind. I'm going to have a lot to say about that on Fox Dragon and Foxhole. I just got to circle back and see if any other people were having the same issue I am. I would watch it on my computer, but gee whiz, I'm using my computer as a monitor to kind of give an idea of what I'm doing on the stream. Okay, now we're all over here jittering with our hands. Okay, we're going to call this segment that eggnog for the last call at Max's. Eugene being a college town, and if you know Eugene and you've hung out, you know that Max's is one of the favorite destinations for college students and folks that like to hang around college towns. So clearly we're speaking about last weekend and the opening weekend of the college football playoff. What does the Foxhole say about that? Yeah, okay. I mean, there were some good games. Okay, I did like the Oklahoma Alabama game. You know, two blue bloods going at it. Oklahoma having its way early, only for Alabama to say, "Oh hell no," and basically tell all the doubters and haters, "FYMF, we belong." Now, there's still many people who are going to debate that up and down the block, but the fact is, sooner Boomer be at home, the Crimson Tide be swerving. Miami and A&M, a defensive slugfest. A lot to unpack here. One, I guess I owe CMC. Yeah, CMC. Not Christian McCaffrey, but Coach Mario Cristobal, formerly of the University of Oregon and Florida International before that. Yeah, you all know I've beat up CMC like a pinata, and many times I've said that that guy would screw up making a glass of, with the Crystal Light packets. He'd screw that up. Guy can recruit. Nobody's ever denied that. We saw that when he was in Eugene. We know about it when he was in Florida. We know his pedigree. But give that guy credit in terms of the U. I would have never thought in 8,000 scorecards that A&M would be the ones to screw up and throw the late interception. And that's usually a province that CMC owns. Now they've won a game. Sheesh. I think they're playing with house money, especially now that it's a rematch of the disputed 2002 Natty final where Ohio State won on a controversial controversial PI that probably shouldn't have been called, especially in that situation. Oh God, you gotta love the playmaker, huh? You know what I'm talking about. Number 47 when he played for the Kings, but we all know him as double eight. Mm-hmm. Either he looks like he's been hanging out with Tony Montana too much, or he's just come out of it. He's been found at a Baptist revival. I mean, carrying on that guy does with his Canes. But hey, lots of love in the Cane Nation right now. Everybody wants tickets. Saw Warren Sapp bitching and moaning about having to pay full price. I'm just like, man, if the U accompanied everybody who balled out, there'd be no tickets for anybody, okay? Gotta love it. Okay, good grief. Bill is having himself a hell of a game. Good to see that. Like I said, for me, all I wanted was to see the Commanders compete in this game. Now, what I said earlier about people needing to hit the tarmac, that still may be the case. But just as a whole, people are watching this. Nothing else really going on. Well, it's Oklahoma City and the Spurs, but if basketball is not your forte. And so, it's very important for my Commanders to at least show something. Wow. What they're showing, I don't know here in the red zone, which has been a problem all year. Okay, so let me get back to talking about eggnog for that last call at Max's. Whew. The case for the DEI squads. Pardon me. It's been kind of a rough night as far as me stumbling on my words. Being Christmas, it's pretty outside. But the case for the DEI squads. Yeah. Tulane, James Madison. There is no case. To be honest, Notre Dame in Texas. Notre Dame in Eugene or Texas in Eugene the first week of the season. Not the first week, the first week of the college football playoff. See, I told you my head's all scrambled. What a matchup that would have been to kick this weekend off. But no, we have James Madison, and props to the James Madison fans. Saw some of them at the holiday market looking all cheery. And they're proud because, well, man, we put up 34 points. But I'm like, yeah, it was 48-13, and Dan Lanning took his foot off the accelerator pedal. Come on, people. Don't even be like, oh, man. And Tulane, whatever the case may be. Okay, I'm just ranting here. Because part of me, it was a common sense part of me that just says, let the DEI schools in, and we have one less thing for people to bitch and moan about. In the big picture, as far as going to the courts and making this thing more complicated. So we all know people are going to bitch and moan and complain about things anyhow. But in terms of something that a school can run to the court and find some namby-pamby judge to go along with it, which is why we're in the mess that we're in right now, mind you. Yeah, I get it. It's got to be part of the equation. I don't know if expanding the playoff field is the answer. I mean, obviously, if you want the DEI schools in the competition, which I think is a necessary evil to maintain peace in the ecosystem, or as much peace as you can. Is that fair to say? But yeah, I don't care what people say. Week 1 of the CFP, not aesthetically pleasing. Because that, even though that Hurricanes Aggies game ended up being a thriller, it was pretty damn boring. The other 2 games on Saturday, unwatchable. Sorry, Duck fans, I hate to break it to you, but that game was unwatchable. I live in Eugene, and yeah, I had 3 or 4 other things on. I'm just like, man, what is the point of this? I'm not even going to get into how the Ole Miss Tulane game, what an insult that was. But it's a necessary evil, like I said, to keep peace in the ecosystem. Okay, so today is Thursday. These games were last week, meaning we get NFL football, which was saving grace, and some other stuff. Obviously, the end of the year being tough. But the fact that we don't have CFP this weekend kind of chaps me. I get it. You want to preserve some, I don't know, modicum or some symbol of the past, right? New Year's Day. We grew up, when we were kids, waking up, watching Pat Hayden throwing the Sheldon Diggs in the Rose Bowl and all that kind of stuff. And then later, hungover because we were out illing at parties, or being at Grateful Dead New Year's or Zero New Year's or Fish New Year's or whatever your jam is. We get all that part of it. It is an American tradition. We do understand that, New Year's Day. But to stretch it out almost 2 weeks after the first week, kind of a buzz killer, yeah? I mean, it'll be cool when we get to that point. I'll be happy, but like right now, after a lackluster first weekend and seeing what the matchups are for the second round, I'm already chomping at the bit for this shit. And what, Tom Petty, what is it? The waiting, it's the hardest part. Yeah, it is. Oh, Ken, it'll be that much more satisfying when we get there. I guess. Only because, okay, it's New Year's Day and the NFL can't dominate everything, and they're sure they'll try. Yeah. Okay. So I was supposed to do a stream this week with Alec Ford because I hear he's roaming around. I know he's up in the Northwest somewhere, I know he was up in Portland watching Oregon and Gonzaga basketball last weekend. And this is interesting. Both major powers, right? Mark Few, Dana Altman, a lot of pedigree there. Both in the Northwest, mind you. And I had to look this up because I didn't believe it at first. You know that when they met last weekend, I think it was like the fourth time, but the third time they've ever met. And all these meetings have happened since '99, and it's always been at a neutral site. But I knew there used to be a thing with Mark Few and Ernie Kent. No, you're going to play here. I know that Mark Few's wife is from here and whatever. And I just think it's crazy that these two have been playing basketball forever. They've only met 3 times. It's happened in the last 25 years. 3 times they've never played in each other's crib. Somebody makes sense of that for me. I mean, when that just makes no sense given how big both brands are, why they're not going at it. Talk about, building the product up. And neither one of you, basketball wise, it's been a long time since the Tall Furs, okay? And the Kamikaze Kids and Gonzaga, you've had some moments, but I don't see any jewelry on your fingers. So I don't know what the point of you two not playing on a regular basis is. I mean, I think it's absolutely fucking ludicrous. Okay. Moving right along on the live stream, 27:20, I believe. Are we starting the fourth quarter? Because, of course, like I said, my stream is running behind, which is just, it's such a mockery. Can't wait to see what other people have to say about that. We'll be talking in a closer look whenever I get that together. But it's looking like that'll happen tomorrow. If you could subscribe to the YouTube channel at FTINFX's Media, FTINFX Media's YouTube channel. Please subscribe. You can watch the regular podcast or listen to it on Spotify, where it's always been, but we've been putting up the episodes on YouTube and trying to sort of pivot that as the hub for all the content for all the stuff that I do, whether it's AfterShoX, The Scene, which unfortunately, quick side story there. I've been saying I have The Scene getting ready to relaunch. I did an episode with a friend of mine in Alabama last week, but it just kind of melted down. I won't get into specifics, but yeah, it melted down to the point where we could not relaunch The Scene just yet. So there you go. Okay, so I know I'm like so unprepared because I just kind of decided to stream on a whim here today and make this happen. And I have it set up to have the NBA game on because big game, Oklahoma City and San Antonio 3. They've met twice already. San Antonio's taken both games. One in the Emirates Cup semifinal, and they met 2 days ago, where Oklahoma City, as good as they've been, apparently have found their kryptonite as far as the Spurs are concerned. And we're all for this. At one point we had the Spurs winning not Spurs, but OKC possibly winning 76 to 78 games. But now that the Spurs and Mr. Wembanyama have made them look a little bit human, it's like we're sitting there like, oh, okay. So we do have a reason to pay attention and not already, as Dennis Green said, the late Dennis Green, if you're going to crown him, crown him. We're not ready to just crown OKC yet. That they may have some resistance in the Western Conference. And like I said, we're all for it. Of course, it is funny, though, when I think about the NBA today and what it must be like for Commissioner Silver and his deputies. Kind of sitting around, they're the epic spread, drinking their eggnog. Bet you it's a lot better than the eggnog I got. And they're sitting there and they're asking themselves, what the hell are we doing? Christmas used to be ours. Now we're having to live life in a NFL fixated universe. Man, I'll be curious to see what the numbers are. Because, mind you, this is the game we're watching right now. This is the Bay of Pigs with the Cowboys and the Commanders going nowhere. Wow. Mr. Automatic just missed a 58-yard field goal. Mr. Aubrey. Commanders hanging in there, 27-20, 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go, even though my stream is a couple of minutes behind. But yeah, back to what I've said in terms of the NBA having to deal with the NFL just muscling in on everything. Because it used to be we thought the NBA season really started on Christmas Day. You didn't really give a shit. But now the NFL muscling in, the NBA has had to take other measures like having the Emirates Cup and really making a concentrated push to make itself known in the early going. I think having a new media rights deal and the high energy that comes from at least people having their crack at having the league package. It's created a certain amount of buzz this year in the Emirates Cup in the previous 2 years. So, I mean, I do like what Mr. Silver has done to combat the NFL's nonstop greed, nonstop narcissism. This is like, no, you need to be paying attention to us and us only. I mean, she's if the NFL was actually gregarious and would share, imagine what kind of universe we could have. But that's asking a bit much. Also, I'm kind of curious about the league. I guess this came out, was it yesterday, I believe it was, or maybe the day before. The league is going to get creative with curbing tanking. They've already tried to go at load management, which is kind of interesting. Now they're going after tanking. And they have some ideas like maybe say a team can't, win the lottery 2 years in a row and stuff like that, which is just like, yeah, whatever. I don't know if that's going to change the incentive because in any given year, especially with all the foreign talent, you can still get a good pick of the top 5. So what are you going to say? Maybe you can't finish in the top 5 2 years in a row, which would be absolutely ridiculous and kind of punitive. If you suck, you suck. So, I mean, I like what they're trying to do. They're trying to say to the public that we're trying. We're trying to give you reasons to care, especially this time of the year. We know you're crazy about the NFL and the CFP. Instead of rolling over, they're trying. And I can appreciate that because, what the hell? What else are they doing? What else are you going to do? I don't know. The Spurs in Oklahoma City. This is going to be, like I said, the third iteration today. That's going on right now. And I'm going to hopefully get to watch now as soon as I'm finished with this stream. Enjoying this, by the way. He said this is something, definitely new to do the episode and stream it live. Something that SJ and I are thinking about doing with her show. So stay tuned. This is kind of like a test run as far as what we might be doing with that. So cool. But yeah, back to the Spurs in Oklahoma City. This is a snapshot of the future, and we're all for it. All for it. Yeah, Oklahoma City, just 2 weeks ago, we were talking about historic stuff, which still can happen, mind you. But that conversation's been tempered because they may have found their kryptonite. And right now, we don't need a dominant team, especially from a market like Oklahoma City. Okay, it's the last thing the league needs. But rivalry with San Antonio, team that's got some pedigree, has arguably one of the major future stars of any sport to come if he can stay healthy, and Mr. Wembanyama. We know what OKC has with its bevy of stars and talent. So yeah, this is a wonderful thing. And Mr. Silver is like saying pennies from heaven as far as this is concerned. In terms of if this rivalry can truly become a rivalry, not become a flash in the pan 1 year thing. And obviously I think health will determine that, on both sides. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Draymond and Kerr. Get a room already, you two. I know some people don't agree with this, but I feel that Draymond, give him credit, instead of really assing out and earning himself another 2 or 3 week vacation in the Bahamas, chasing the animals that he does in that commercial. He went in the locker room, cooled down, came and sat at the end of the bench, and that was that. The Warriors won the game. Things are going to get volatile. They have long history and success. So there was a sort of like, not letting Kerr off the hook either, because Kerr can be a hothead. I mean, after all, Jordan went upside his head, as we saw and heard about in the Last Dance. So kudos to both of those guys. It can't be easy for that team where they are right now. Playing team at best, but a proud team that was a dynasty at one point. Yeah. Okay. So I'm watching Netflix, ready to strangle Netflix, after this fiasco with the game. But I have not gotten to this whole thing that Fitty did with this little hit piece Diddy did on Puff Daddy. Or did they? No freak offs up here. I wasn't invited. we ain't got the oil and whatever cool stuff they were doing. We're just sitting here drinking our energy drinks, watching a little delayed football on Netflix. That's how cool we are. Okay, I don't know where I was going with that. Other than 50 says, okay, I've taken my shot at Diddy. Braun, you're next. So apparently his production company wants to do a hit piece on LeBron. This could get really interesting, especially given some of the allegations that the Peanut Gallery have levied against LeBron for years. Not ever substantiated, but there's a lot of smoke out there. And so leave it to Fitty to come up and try to exploit that. This would be really interesting. I don't know if Braun's losing any sleep, because Braun's got a lot of resources to shut stuff down. And unlike Diddy, Braun ain't been caught slapping down some woman in a hotel lobby for the whole world to see. There ain't no Ray Rice that we know of yet with LeBron. So it might be harder to mute LeBron's pushback on this. Be careful where you go there, Fitty. All right, folks. Let's do some parting shots, for this live stream, episode 22 of AfterShoX. We've gotten to that point. I'm sitting here chatting away. I need to get to watching football and basketball. So, okay. Let me see here. Man, bummed out about this one. R.I.P. for, was it James Ransoni? He put Ziggy Sabatka on the wire. And you all know, if you follow my podcast, you know I'm a wire junkie. That's where TMCA time came from. And if you know me and you've heard me talk about The Wire, you know the Docks is one of my favorite seasons in the whole 5 seasons. I think season 2, where they went from the street to the docks, is one of the coolest things I ever saw on TV. It's like, oh wow, dude, this is pretty badass. Anyways, great character. You know, remember he was in Larry Clark's movie, that movie after he did Kids. What was that? Ken Park. And you know, obviously in Treme and other stuff like that. But you know, it was always his character in The Wire. You know, and how sad Ziggy's character was, and I always felt that mirrored who he was. Apparently, you know, there seems to be the case. So I don't want to, you know, delve too deep into this. Just if you know somebody this time of year or any time of the year, and you can, you know, give them a hug or some encouragement, please do so, man. You know, because in this particular guy's case, you know, he's got a wife, a couple of kids, and that's just sad, you know, for them to have to deal with this Christmas and Christmases to come. So, anyways, our condolences definitely go out to his wife and his kids and anybody else that loved the man. Loss. I know. See, Wendell Pierce, Buck Moreland, say I couldn't be there for you, bro. Okay, let's lighten this up. It is Christmas after all. How about the one, you know, the one that goes, he was carrying the sport, a chorus line, a chorus line, a chorus line. Jake Paul, he was carrying the sport. Some of you all said that. And okay, to be fair here, there were 33 million viewers on Netflix. Hope this experience is better than the one I'm getting right now, mind you. 5 minutes behind. But 33 million viewers, which, you know, for boxing these days is saying something. However, he got his string knocked loose. Unless you were hiding under a rock, you already know this. Not only did he get his string locked loose, he's got any common sense. His days of stepping into the ring or the octagon probably are done. If I'm his lady, I'm like going, no, babe. I mean, he got his string knocked loose, as my dad used to say. May he rest in peace. Yeah. Carrying the sport, huh? Okay. Well, if he was carrying the sport, then what happens next? Not a good thing for the sweet science, if that's truly the case. Of course, I never thought he was carrying the sport myself. I always thought that was a bunch of poppycock nonsense. I did. I thought it was an interesting phenomenon that he's created, and it has been good for him and some of the people that he's fought. But I think it's injured the sport more than it's carried the sport. I don't know. What do you think? FTINFX@gmail.com. Drop me a line. Leave a message on the hotline. I'd love to hear from you. 541-525-0896. Yeah. Give us a ring. But yeah, carrying the sport, my goodness. Okay. What else do we have here on our way out? We're going to call this one, well, Dorothy, I do believe we're in Kansas now. Hold on a second here. Let me watch this big third down here. Watch my commanders somehow screw this up. Wow. Well, maybe Dallas will go for it here. Dorothy, I do believe we're in Kansas. So the Chiefs. Been in Arrowhead, 52, 53 years? One of the first of the truly great modern stadiums. There was a lot of multi-purpose stuff that was built, you know, in the 60s and 70s, and most of those stadiums were cagada, as my buddy Oscar in Chihuahua, Mexico would say. Cagada. However, Arrowhead was a marvel. I mean, I went to Arrowhead back in like 1977, you know, the part of the Truman Sports Complex. Royal Stadium, right next to it. HOK, that the famous firm built a lot of the great stadiums back in the day. It was still a player. But the Chiefs have always kind of been there. And even the way they were able to keep Arrowhead modern to this day, it's always been a great stadium. So I remember going there in like 77, they were playing the Steelers, and it's like, dude, this place is pretty dope. Anyhow, the state of Kansas makes them an offer they can't refuse. Can't refuse. I mean, pretty much almost ponying up like $2.5 billion in public money. People are just like, "Oh, we got to hang out here." The fans are doing their usual belly aching, as most fan bases are going to do now, as we look to make the experience more comfortable for the fans and less about home field advantage. I know, boomers, football is meant to be played outside. You're meant to be cold and all these things. We get that stuff, boomers, but I hate to tell you, that ship is long past, okay? It's just long past. That ain't happening anymore. Especially the kind of money that you're paying, for the experience. Right? It's all a big complex that you're going to on game day. It ain't about sitting in Lambeau. And that's why the folks in Chicago are losing their shit, about the whole, possibly going to Gary, Indiana, Dome Stadium. Nobody's happy with Soldier Field after its remodel. That was just kind of like, okay, but now we're into a modern era where comfort, it's something that's kind of important to people, especially when you're talking about the kind of money that they're spending. People will bitch and moan, especially Chiefs Kingdom. But at the end of the day, they're going to look at it and be, yeah, this is fucking pain in the ass. But like the wine drinkers that Randy Cross of the 49ers called out way back in the day in Marin County, who probably said, I ain't going on Santa Clara. Then the 49ers got good. Hell yeah. I'll just leave at 4 a.m. to get there and leave in the third quarter to beat the traffic to get back up north. People will bitch and moan, but they'll have their deposits ready when the PSLs are available. Okay. What else do we have for a holiday parting shot? Are the queens about to get physical? The queens of the court, yeah. Well, they've authorized a strike vote. It basically said, yeah, if it's time to go to combat, we ready. As I've been pointing out, they've done a heck of a job of muting the wackos. Although I am seeing a little bit more flex in terms of Unrivaled. I haven't heard anything about that league that's being backed by the private equity fund. But the game of chicken, it seems like the temperature's rising. And I'm not sure now how this is going to play. I long thought, well, shit, maybe these ladies are going to come to their senses. Now I'm thinking they might just say, fuck it, let's go do our own thing. This would be a radical departure, which I've been saying is a possibility. So we're going to start out 2026 with a bang. Or a wet firecracker if they come to their senses and it's business as usual, we're making a few more dollars. Stay tuned. Okay. Lastly, this whole thing with the World Cup. Everybody's butthurt right now. Why do you say that, Ken? Well, as I brought up in the Foxhole last week, I believe, ticket prices. The countries and FIFA are trying to make sure the most loyal fans can be able to afford it. But as I said last week, how the hell are you going to determine that? I've been seeing a lot of stuff from the football was stolen from us crowd this week. Lots of memes, all that kind of stuff. And okay, it was stolen from you. We get that. And as I always say, go follow a team like Lane United. Grab your scarf, your sack lunch, and hang out with your mates. If that's what you want in terms of old time soccer. Because everything else, where you can make a buck, charge more bucks to make even more bucks, that's entertainment, 21st century, whether you like it or not. There is no Strother Martin coming in here talking about old time hockey like he did in Slapshot, old time soccer, or whatever the case may be. Right? This is the opium of the masses, and this is the biggest sporting event globally. It just happens to be here where we can manufacture money and get you to pay for it better than anybody. So I don't get people for being cranky because some of these prices, especially when we get into later rounds, are absolutely ridiculous. But I always said, man, everybody got all whacked out after the pandemic because we had entertainment taken away from us, which told the purveyors, well, they can't live without it. Well, hell, we can charge 4 or 5 more times for it because they love it so much. So there you go. All right, man, because it's just rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, as the song goes. Something for everyone, 2026. Can't wait to see it. Maybe I'll even be there for some of it. We'll see. But not at those prices. Okay, folks, we have reached the finish line for episode 22, 022. I'm going to try to get the latest foxtrotting in a foxhole out tomorrow. Work on that. Maybe do some more streams. Might even do 23 later if I can find some people to stream the later games with. We'll see about that. If not, keep an eye out for content this weekend. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful Christmas holiday. Enjoy some good food. Enjoy great company. Please enjoy those adult beverages and whatever else puts a smile on your face. Stay safe, sane, and as always, avoid the bracelets. We don't want no Gray Bar Hilton visits during the holiday seasons. Until then, peace out, y'all.